Well, with the playing of that familiar theme song, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go out to the left coast of the United States. Check in with Michael Snyder and see what's happening in entertainment with his Culture Blast report. Michael?
Alex, hey, how are you? And greetings to all. It's time to get rolling, and so let's get to it. First, a little callback to last week's reviews. I feel bad that I didn't acknowledge the great Morgan Freeman in the new redo of the biblical epic Ben-Hur. I mean, in the midst of this gigantic Romans versus Jews grudge match in ancient Jerusalem, with Jesus on the periphery, Freeman is playing some kind of North African desert nomad chieftain in a dreadlock wig and robe, kind of looking like the elderly offspring of Whoopi Goldberg and Bob Marley at a spa. I mean, he was hilarious. And if there's a reason to see this film, now I'm thinking that's it. I mean, whenever he narrated during a segment, I kept hoping to see penguins or aliens show up. But anyway, okay, on to the new stuff, although you should keep in mind that the studio or the distributor did not screen Mechanic Resurrection for reviewers. And if you want to know, it's a sequel to one of the boilerplate action movies starring British hard-ass Jason Statham. I like the 2011 original, but I always have lowered expectations for these things, and apparently my expectations are incapable of being lowered enough for this one. They didn't even want me or anyone else to see it. So moving right along to the things I did manage to see. Hands of Stone is a biopic about the talented and often vilified Panamanian boxer Roberto Duran, who fought from about the age of 18 until I think he was about 50. And in his late 20s, he beat Sugar Ray Leonard for the WBC welterweight title. That was 1980. And then he made news when he seemed to just give up in the rematch. So this is your typical athlete up from poverty movie with the usual success brings arrogance and, pride cometh before the fall elements. The cinematography in the ring is heavily influenced by those techniques used in Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull, like most boxing films since Raging Bull. And like most boxing films since then, they're not as stunning as Raging Bull. And speaking of which, it must have been a no-brainer to cast the Raging Bull himself, Robert De Niro, in this movie as Duran's longtime advisor and trainer and a true boxing legend, Ray Arcel. And Bobby D is his usual sly latter-day self. Plus, you got heartthrob Edgar Ramirez, who is good as Duran, pop singer Usher Raymond, who's pretty okay as Sugar Ray, and the lovely newcomer Ana de Armas, who's kind of on a roll. She's also in War Dogs, and she's delectable as Duran's hot wife, who came from a better family than the street kid. You get Ellen Barkin, John Turturro, Ruben Blades, or is that Ruben Blades, and they're all better than the middling, what dare I say, generic material, which left me kind of shrugging at the end of the movie. I don't know the filmmaker Jonathan Jakubowicz, but I will say he does a professional job here, and it'll be diverting for those interested in Duran, and you might as well catch up to it on video. I mean, if you dig this sort of stuff. It ain't deep, though. I mean, Raging Bull, it's not. I mean, Southpaw, the fictional boxing melodrama with Jake Gyllenhaal, was far more moving. But, Hands of Stone. Okay, in the horror thriller Don't Breathe, three morally corrupted young Confederates drive to a crappy bombed-out Detroit neighborhood to break into the ramshackle house of a blind man who they believe has a big stash of cash hidden away. I mean, they've been pretty successful at B&E, so they're overconfident, and that's a big mistake. None of the characters involved in this film are really likable, and they're all flawed in one way or another, and they do, like, stupid horror movie things like, poke around where they shouldn't. That typical don't go in the woods, don't go in the attic, don't go in the basement. You get the idea. Anyway, Don't Breathe works better than it should, despite all that. The trio of teen thieves are led by a tattooed a-hole, who's the worst of the three, and a little too sure he's a tough guy. There's his girlfriend, who's also of questionable morals and wants to get away from the trailer trash life she leads with her sleazy mom and her mom's clearly violent boyfriend. And then there's the chump, the almost nice guy of the threesome, a patsy who kind of pines for the girl despite her relationship with scum number one, so he helps them in their capers. None of them count on the blind man being much of a problem, except that he's played by Stephen Lang, the nasty, ass-kicking colonel from Avatar. which suggests that this is one blind guy you better beware. The third act strains a little bit, but as these things go, Don't Breathe is a kind of breath of fresh, if poisonous air. It should be fun to watch on video for genre fans, even if you find yourself rooting against all four main characters. Directed and co-written by Fede Alvarez, who is the Uruguayan director who did a very good Evil Dead reboot. Don't Breathe is, what you'd expect in a good way. The Hollers was directed by and stars John Krasinski, Jim from the American version of The Office, and Mr. Emily Blunt, if you will. As ever, he's one likable guy who has made a likable but mild mix of comedy and drama about a dysfunctional small-town clan brought back together by unpleasant circumstances. Krasinski's a commercial artist in this movie, trying to make a name for himself in New York, and he's drawn back to the family home when he gets word of his mom's illness and impending surgery. And when he gets there, he has to deal with his parents' issues, his resentful brother, his former high school nemesis, his ex-girlfriend, his current girlfriend, who is, guess what? Prego, with child, knocked up. I mean, we've seen films like this before, usually set around a holiday where the fun is overturned by someone's serious life issues, so this has a second-hand feeling. Doesn't hurt that Margot Martindale and Richard Jenkins play the mom and the dad. Charlie Day and Mary Elizabeth Winstead are respectively the high school rival and the ex. And it's kind of hard to buy Sharlto Copley as Krasinski's brother. And I'm kind of getting a little weary of Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick has this kind of shtick, and she's the pregnant girlfriend here. This isn't bad. It means well, but it's a little flaccid and overly familiar. I give Hollers a meh. It definitely didn't merit a holler, positive or negative. Complete Unknown wants to be kind of a clever, nicely constructed character drama with romantic elements that lets its two leads, the fine actors Michael Shannon and Rachel Weisz, do their thing, and they do it well. But the mystery that unfolds when they encounter one another at a dinner party doesn't have the impact one would hope. He thinks he knows her from somewhere, and she's enigmatic. And when she leaves the party, he goes after her, despite the fact that he's in a committed relationship. I thought the actors were terrific and imbued the material with enough substance that the film's slim premise worked. He's the straight-laced guy who sticks with what he knows, and she's a woman whose life has been a series of reinventions. And they're kind of on a collision course. If you're looking for something earth-shaking, this isn't it. But I like the movie, which is the work of Joshua Marston, who wrote and directed Maria Full of Grace, about a Colombian drug mule, which is admittedly a more powerful piece than this one. And I'm still sold on the guy and wonder what he'll do next. Got cameos by Kathy Bates and Danny Glover. Complete Unknown, it's okay. The best movies out this week have subtitles. My favorite of the two is a great and funny crime flick from Norway, In Order of Disappearance, starring the always reliable Stellan Skarsgård as a snowplow driver in a wintry suburb of what I assume is Oslo, and also featuring Bruno Gantz, the guy who played Hitler in Downfall and launched a million memes. He also was the angel in Wings of Desire. He plays a Serbian drug lord. Essentially, Skarsgård's character has just been named Citizen of the Year for, clearing the roads as well as he does, and he finds out his son has died of a heroin overdose, and he wants to find that the people responsible. It really is a bunch of carnage, some laughs, a lot of excitement, and droll in the best possible way. I mean, the body count starts getting crazier and crazier, and I dug it, man. The director is a guy named Hans Petter Moland. He's done some other cool films. I really recommend In Order of Disappearance, and we'll wrap up with something a little more on the tender side, a movie called Mia Madre, which is an Italian film about a director who's trying to get a movie shot while her mother is ailing in the hospital. It's poignant and amusing and heartbreaking, and it even has John Turturro. Yeah, he was in the boxing movie, too. He plays a jerk of an American movie star who comes to Rome to be in this woman's latest politically pointed feature film. This is from the great Italian director Nanni Moretti, and Margarita Bay playing the film director is absolutely tremendous. And it's a bit of a downer, for sure, but again, very well made and beautifully acted and shot. And that's it in movie land. I did not see South Side with You, which is apparently a kind of slice of biography depicting the first date between Barack Obama and the woman who would become his wife, Michelle Robinson. And it's supposed to be very good, but I wasn't able to fit it in, so sorry about that. What do you got in video or movies you've caught?
Well, it's funny when you think about the best pictures of the year. Sometimes you forget stuff that you saw that was just amazing. And this weekend, I managed to purloin a copy of The Jungle Book.
Oh,
and I got to tell you, I've decided that's the best film of the year. It is just exquisite, exquisite.
And the magic, right? The magic of it. One human figure on screen, everything else computer generated.
But I mean, it is just forget about any of that. It's just a great movie.
There's no point in this film, despite that fact. I bring it up. There's no point where you go, it looks fake.
Oh, no, it's absolutely amazing. And here's the only problem: it's been released here in America on Blu-ray, but Disney, and they did the same thing with Frozen, didn't release it in 3D. And this picture was shot in 3D. It is a complete 3D movie. It's not one of those jimmy-rigged 3D movies.
Right.
And I happened to get a hold of a British copy, okay, where they're releasing it, as they did with Frozen, in 3D. Why Disney does this, I have no idea. They've yet to release Frozen in this country in 3D. You have to go on to Amazon and buy the Amazon UK copy in order to get it in 3D. It just amazes me what Disney's thinking is. They probably figure at some point they'll release it in 3D and charge a lot of money for it. You know.
Well, the beauty is you have the facility to watch it, and it's working for you.
Because this film, if there was ever a film that was made for 3D, it was this film. I mean, it's just a brilliant film. It still resonates with me, and I watched it last weekend.
So unlikely that Jon Favreau has become this wonderful. I mean, from the get-go, he was solid, but he's just a terrific director. He has great instincts, and this is yet another film, and very different from the previous movies he's done.
Yep, absolutely. Well, is that about it?
I'm excited about the oncoming of the new TV season. I have heard recommendations of a French film with subtitles called a French TV show called The Disappearance.
I've already seen it.
What'd you think?
It's okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Not a ringing endorsement, but anyway, you can check me out.
Actually, now that I remember it, we only watched the first episode and just said to ourselves, "This has been done too many times before."
Oh, there you have it.
No, really, I'm serious. It's
really,
it's The Killing all over again.
Oh, okay, duly noted.
I have to start the theme again.
Yeah, that's okay. You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster, on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page. We'll be back next week. Thanks.
And there's more GABNet coming right up after the second playing of our theme song.